Buongiorno! Hi and welcome back to Mike vs. Kitchen, the show where I, Mike, give myself some kitchen challenges with the hope of a delicious outcome and maybe learning something new. So in today's episode, we're going to be tackling biscotti. This is an Italian biscuit, often served with coffee, that's quite hard and crunchy. Something similar to a South African rusk, but probably older. They are twice baked to ensure that they're nice and crunchy and go fantastically with a nice hot cup of tea or coffee. Biscotti, like a lot of other biscuits, is very versatile. It's traditionally made with almond, but you can spice it up to include anything you want, from chocolate to cranberries to almond to fudge, maybe not fudge. Anything you want, it can go in a biscotti. I'm going to be doing biscotti two different ways. One more classic and then one with a more modern twist. So, let's get started. As per usual, links to recipes will be in the description below. Okay, let's get started with making our biscotti. First things first, we're going to cream our butter and sugar. This is 4 tablespoons of butter to 3/4 of a cup. Yes, 4 tablespoons of butter to 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Let's get creaming. Sugar, butter. Now that my butter and sugar is well combined, I can add in my 2 large eggs as well as my vanilla and almond extract. Okay, let's add in my eggs. Mix. Now my extract. The recipe calls for 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract, or alternatively 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. I luckily have both, so I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of vanilla and then 1/2 teaspoon of almond. Let's do this. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Then 1/2 teaspoon, or I hope I have 1/2 teaspoon of almond in here. Just. Let's mix once again till all the ingredients are properly combined. Now that my wet ingredients have combined, I can add in my dry ingredients. These include 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of whole wheat flour, teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add this in and slowly mix till all combined. Let's go. Now that my dough is mixed and ready to be rolled out, I'm going to divide it in half. I'm going to keep 1/2 as a traditional biscotti, and then the other half I'm going to spice up and do something a little bit different with. Okay, so I'm going to say looks about half. So for my spiced up biscotti, I'm going to be adding some dark chocolate, almond, and then orange zest. I'm hoping that this combination will mix together quite well and bring out and complement each other's flavors. It's difficult for me to tell you how much of each I put in, as this is a guessing game for me too. So let's cross our fingers and see how this turns out. I'm hoping this will work. Looks well combined and like there's a nice even spread of all of the ingredients. So let's hope this will work. Now that my dough is mixed and combined, I can prepare it to be put on the sheet. First things first, I'm going to roll it into a ball. For this, I'm going to put it onto a lightly floured work surface and roll out into a roughly 8-inch or 20 centimeter long log. At this point, I can move it onto my baking sheet and then dust with sugar. Let's get rolling. Okay, looks about right. Now I can pop it on my sheet. Okay, nope, that is too long. I'm going to redo this and make it work with my baking sheet. So yeah, take my measurements with a pinch of salt. Yeah, because well, your baking sheet might not be long enough, or your baking tray might not be long enough. There we go. Okay, And then it says, flatten until they're roughly 3/4 of an inch thick. So flatten until they're roughly 2 centimeters thick. Okay, this is going to be some guesswork. Yeah, biscotti is traditionally like almost fingers, so you want it to be slimmer, and then when you cut it, you can, make sure it's perfect. But you want it to be fairly flat, I think. Because they are like fingers. You don't want to have this like giant ball of something. This is what my biscotti is looking like. Hopefully this is correct. Now I'm going to do the exact same process with my other one, so I can pop it in next to it. Let's go. Now that my logs are prepped and ready to go in the oven, I'm going to sprinkle half of both of them with a little bit of, they call for turbinado? They call for turbinado sugar, but I have this golden sugar. You're going to sprinkle half of the top of them with this, just to see how it turns out in the long run. So let's see. It's a little bit of an experiment. Now that I've sprinkled my sugar on top, I'm going to pop them in the oven at 180 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes. This is the initial bake. After this, I'm going to take them out and let them cool, cut them up, and then rebake them to make sure they're nice and crispy. Let's get baking. Now that my biscotti has baked for 20 minutes, I can take it out the oven. At this point, I'm going to take it out and put it on a wire cooling rack to cool for half an hour before cutting it and popping it back in the oven. Once it's cool, we're going to cut it diagonally about the roughness. Once cool, we're going to cut it to roughly the thickness of your finger and then rebake it to make sure it's nice and crunchy. But for now, let's let it cool. Now that the biscotti has cooled, I can take it and cut it into its fingers and pop it back on the tray for its second bake. The recipe suggests I cut them about a finger thick and diagonally on the piece. It also suggests that I cut by pressing down rather than sawing. So let's try it. Okay, so diagonally. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, and biscotti finger. There we go. That wasn't too difficult. Just got to get them straight. But yeah, let's keep going. Now that my biscotti is cut, I can place it back in the oven and bake for another 12 to 16 minutes at 180. This will dry them out and give them that nice crispiness that you want. Let's get baking. So after 12 minutes in the oven, here we are, our freshly baked Italian biscotti. They all look good. They did crumble a little when I was trying to cook them, but all in all, I think they've turned out well. Next taste, of course, let's try them. So first I'm going to try one of the plain biscottis without the chocolate and orange. Let's see how that tastes and then we'll move on. Very nice, very subtle, not too sweet. Very nice, will be great with coffee. Now let's move on to the chocolate and orange. This one's a bit more of an experiment as I'm not quite sure how it's going to turn out. But here goes. Fantastic. The orange is very subtle in this biscotti, but it tastes good nonetheless. Chunks of chocolate throughout also give a nice surprise as you're biting in. All in all, I'd say it turned out quite well. So all in all, I want to say that the biscotti turned out really well. The plain ones are nice and simple, very subtle, and then the chocolate, orange, and almond ones a little more complex and full flavored, if that's the right way to put it. But all in all, I'd say they're good. Fantastica. Yeah. Based on all of this, I'm going to say this week was a win for Mark. However, I don't know if I'll be sending them to a proper Italian anytime soon. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Mark vs. Kitchen. This time, biscotti. Please don't forget to like and subscribe as well as comment down below if you have any ideas for future challenges, etc. Stay safe out there. Bye. Fantastic.